Welcome to Live with Impact. I'm Angela Brown and I'm here with Omuugn, and we are discussing a really important topic, and it's the topic of consistency. We are reading from the insights and wisdom of Omuugn. If you have not taken a chance already, this is a perfect opportunity to go ahead and pick up a copy of it. This is volume one of volume two. So please help me welcome Omuugn. Let's unpack what consistency is and how we can use it in our personal lives. Hey, Omuugn, how are you today?
Hey, I'm really fine. How are you?
I'm very good.
There are certain things about consistency that I would like to emphasize that I think are important. One is that we need to consistently be mindful. We need to analyze every aspect of our life, and the areas that we're weak in, we need to alter those things. We need to make decisions, begin programs, begin processes that will make us better people. When we commit to do those things, we need to be consistent in that commitment. If we're going to make a New Year's resolution, we need to keep that resolution. And if we're not going to keep it, we need to face ourselves in the very beginning and say, why would I say I'm going to do it if I'm not going to do it? For example, if you're in a family situation, if you have a spouse or children, be consistent in showing them love, showing them compassion, showing them how you want them to be as people. Be an example for them. Be consistent in the life that you live. If you're going to teach them principles, be sure those principles are principles that you live by and that you incorporate those. Be consistent in your thoughts, in your words, in your actions, in your core beliefs, in adhering to universal laws and foundational principles. We need to sit down and ask ourselves, what kind of a person do I really want to be? And I know I'm going to run into circumstances that are contrary. I know that I have plan A, but plan B or C is going to take place. How am I going to respond to that? Do I have anger management problems? How do I handle my emotions? I fly off the handle, I become depressed. Do I become anything negative? And how would a person that I want to be respond to this situation? We can go through those situations in our mind and create the proaction that we want to implement. It helps to write them down, to keep a journal.
I want
Uh,
to ask a question because I can't get away from the fact that in 2024, you will celebrate 58 years of being married to the same woman. As I watched you and mom over the last as many years as I've been alive, which is 53 years, there's been a consistency to your relationship. Can you speak to the consistency that is required in relationships when there are ebbs and flows?
I think understanding some of those core values, being married and committed to a person, being consistent with that person for your entire life was a core value. I think we had a lot of those values in the beginning, and we looked at things in a holistic way. So when we got married, we took that very seriously. The way I envisioned that in my own mind was that when I got married, I created a new organism. And it wasn't just me, and it wasn't just my spouse, but it was us together. When we made decisions, we sat down and we talked through the decisions. We would sit down and analyze the information that we had at hand. I'm going to be accountable for how my marriage turns out because I want to be responsible, having empathy for people and understanding people and listening to people. We need to be consistent in that interaction that we have. We need to be consistent in all of the aspects of our life. And we can't be if we don't define them clearly to ourselves. The more we understand and we have a strong knowing that we're on the right course, it's easier to be consistent following that program. If you know who you are and where you're going, if you have set goals and objectives that are very clear and obtainable, it's easy to be consistent.
When you say create a world that you want to live in, it doesn't necessarily mean easy. You and mom decided somewhere along the way that part of your foundational principles included homeschooling. So tell me about the consistency in deciding that education at home was a wise choice.
There has been such a change in information from the time I was young to now. The world that we live in today is so technologically advanced. But again, it goes back to those core values and principles We have to determine just really who we want to be, how we want to relate to things. It was an interesting fact. For 18 years, I had 7 teenagers at the same time. Teenagers are kind of a wily group where they're coming into their own, making their own decisions. They want to be different than their parents. So you have to be consistent in the way you present yourself and the way you raise your family. Our life had its challenges, and I don't ever remember a time that plan A was in effect. We always had plan B and C. We had to learn to be consistent. As circumstances changed, our values didn't change. We had to maintain those core values through what was happening. We need to be consistent in all of the things that are productive and good, things that move us forward and upward and that would make our lives better. Consistency is a really valuable trait that we should embrace.
Consistency is something we do have control over, and it's something we can attain based on the consistent behaviors repeated over time. It's something that's actually doable. I thank you for joining us. We meet every single week so that we can unpack with Omuugn himself the different elements that will help us become the best versions of ourselves. Until next time, have a great week and live a life with passion.
Thank you.